Listen to the vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Vibes. I'd love to welcome here Andrew Davies, and he is an improviser, facilitator, and an author. So we're going to get to know what he does, get to know him. Andrew, tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, absolutely, Kyle. Thanks so much for having me. As you said, I really love improvisation, and that has been life-changing for me. I grew up in Philadelphia, born and raised here, did a lot of theater and writing, and I moved to New York City where I really found improvisation as a way to connect with people, to really be in the moment, to really be an active listener and learn from people. And that really set me on the kind of trajectory of my life. So I run a few different groups that are all using improvisation and theater to kind of build connections, to create community, and to really help people to be a better listener and help in their relationships. I really think the tools of improvisation can really help us all in our lives, whether we are the most extroverted performer in the world or we are the most introverted person who never wants to be on a stage. I think a lot of the tools and approaches are super helpful. So that's really been my life's work to share that.
And when you say improv, are you talking it's all kinds of stuff, or is it comedy? What is that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's musical improv and other things. For me, it's really theatrical or comedic improv. So it's really about storytelling spontaneously in the moment. And so from as basic as kind of very simple games, building ideas, to as long as an hour-long made-up show. I used to be part of a group called The Commotion in New York, and every Tuesday night we would get a word from the audience and we would make up a half-hour-long musical. So that's kind of the advanced version of it. And then what I teach and share with people is more like Whose Line Is It Anyway is probably the most famous TV version of that, where that's called short form improv, where you get suggestions and make small scenes. So it's games like that that really are a lot of fun in their own right. And I think when you unpack them, they help people to get to know themselves better and find what makes them excited, scared, uncomfortable, all those things. So, yeah.
If I'm at a workplace and I threw something out at you, you can do something on the spot like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the workplace, I think it's often about the approach, and a lot of people know the idea of yes and from improv. And so I think what that's really saying is to think about how can you say yes to someone's idea and add to it. So in the workplace, people often throw something at us that's a curveball or something new or a project that we weren't thinking about it. And our instinct can be to push back or to immediately say like, no, that won't work, or I don't have time for that this week. And I think improv invites us to say, okay, let me take that in. What if I could say yes to that or acknowledge that idea? And what might I have to add to that? So let's say someone was like, we haven't gotten together a while as a team. Like, we should do like a karaoke night. And you might say like, yes, and not everybody on our team loved karaoke last time. So maybe we could do like a picnic, or maybe we could have a Dungeons and Dragons day at the workplace. You could kind of add to the ideas, right? And like the more the merrier with ideas. So I think that's the mindset that improv can help you bring to the workplace.
What's been the biggest concern?
With Artly Working, which is an organization that I co-run with my good friend Dave Klasko, I've designed a program called Better Meetings. That's a 3-step program. And that was really because the more I talked with folks at kind of more traditional jobs than mine, one of the number one complaints I heard over and over again were endless, pointless meetings. Meetings that happen because they're on the calendar, and that's about it, right? I was actually talking to my sister this week, who was sharing that at her meetings with her boss, he sort of monologues almost the whole time without engaging with her at all. And I joked that it sounds like it's his podcast, not a meeting, right? Because it's not actually interactive or participatory. And she would find that they would have an hour-long meeting. And the last 3 minutes, she would jump in to say, real quick, can we talk about this project happening next week, right? And so I think a lot of times people are having meetings without thinking about why they're having the meeting, what they're trying to accomplish, what they hope people get out of it. So I've really designed a program called Better Meetings to help people get participation in their meetings and really ask themselves, does this need to be a meeting or should this be an email? Does this need to be a meeting or should I just make a video explaining what I want everybody to know, right? Because a lot of times, especially, we're talking right now, Kyle, through Zoom, right? And Zoom is amazing technology, but it's also allowed management and leadership to easily have a meeting with many people, right? Without necessarily a reason for it or purpose. You used to have to like really plan if you want to get 10 people in a room to have a conversation. Now you can just put it on people's calendar and they're there. But the problem with that is that people can overuse it, right? And so I think a lot of my work is helping to try to give people some tools to say, why are we having meetings? How can we have participation? How can we use improv or theater to think about making it more participatory so people will engage and be more productive and ultimately a better use of everyone's time and make for happier people in the workplace and not wasting each other's time, which we never want to do.
Have you ever had to deal with something like extremely serious, maybe a mental health issue or anything along that line?
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not a trained mental health expert or, doctor, psychologist. And so if there's a serious medical situation that comes up, I sort of defer to the people in the room that know those things. With my work, I really try to create a very safe space for people to engage and participate in whatever level that they're at. With our Artly Working programs, we often say, whatever your comfort level is that you're coming at, we're not expecting you to have any experience or skills. We're just asking you to like turn the notch, like just like one little notch, right? And so for some people, literally just like participating silently in a game is like a huge effort for them. And so I think that's really important. In my work, I think I haven't, luckily had to experience those difficult challenges of mental health. I do know that a lot of the people we've worked with have talked about how the approach of improv and the spirit of it has helped them in their mental health journeys and to approach things. One of the sort of mantras, phrases of improv that came from this author, Robert Poynton, who I love, that had wrote a book called Do Improvise, is that everything is an offer. And that's something that oftentimes in my life, when something happens that is challenging, be it small, like it's raining when I was planning to do something outside, or something big, like someone gets really sick in my life, or I broke an arm, that everything is an offer, or everything is an offer, right? So it doesn't mean that everything that happens is good, but everything that happens is an offer for something else. I was speaking to a friend yesterday who was talking about how they wrote their first novel when they were actually doing improv and they broke their arm and they were like out of commission for a little while and they like tore their Achilles. They had all these injuries and they were basically bedridden for a few months in recovery. And they said to themselves, okay, like everything is an offer. They maybe didn't have that language, but they said, this is an offer. And they sat down and they wrote their first book. So I think for me, just giving yourself that opportunity to pause and say that everything is an offer. It doesn't mean we want bad things to happen or we want to feel depressed or get fired. But let's say we get fired from a job. That is an offer, right? There is an offer there to say, what do I want to do? What's next, right? Did I actually hate that job or do I want to do something exactly like that somewhere else? Do I want to move cities? It's an offer. Yeah.
Now, speaking of books, I mentioned that you're an author. Tell us a little bit about your book.
Yeah, so I'm writing my first book right now to come out in 2026, and it's called Participate. And it's really sharing some of my stories and experiences and helping people to think about how they can find more ways to participate in their own lives and how they can create spaces and experiences for other people to participate. For me, this has become a sort of really important approach over and over again that I've found is that when we participate, we get so much more out of an experience than when we take it in passively. I often am invited to communities, I have a Jewish comedy team as well called the Bible Players, and we're invited to sometimes do lectures, speeches, or sometimes to do a comedy show. And they always want to set it up sort of frontally, me with a microphone and a spotlight and everyone distant in the darkness. And I always say, no, think of the opposite of that. I want people to participate and be a part of it. So I will often like begin a talk on a stage by saying, turn to someone next to you and talk about why you're here and what you're excited about from this conference, or why you're here and something great that happened in this last week, right? So one of my real goals with this book is to share stories and give tools so that people can create more opportunities for participation. I really feel we all get so much more out of the moments when we participate than the moments when we just watch something or take something in passively.
Can you mention maybe one of the funniest things that's ever happened when you've done this?
Oh, so many fun things. What I love about improv is that you can play the same game and it's just always different and always hilarious. We had just a couple weeks ago had some folks volunteer on stage for an improv game that we were playing, and it the person ended up it ended up being a kid, and the kid got the prompt that they were like, it was on a little piece of paper the audience had written for them, and it said that they were pregnant. And this kid was like, I'm pregnant. And I was like, what do you do next? Where do you go if you're having a baby? And he said, I go to the airport. And so then we all like went to the airport. This kid's just silly idea. So the scene was then us giving birth at an airport. We ended up giving birth on the plane. It's just like wonderful and wacky. But that's what I love about improv, is that we really say yes to our silly ideas that couldn't come true in real life. But this like scene of giving birth on an airplane with the pilot's help and the stewardess's help was just like ridiculous and memorable for me. A lot of fun.
Those ones that stick out in your mind, I mean, that is what you put in a book. You have a
Yeah.
lot of those in there.
Yeah, I have a lot of stories over the years and highlights. And so for me, it's going to be really, deciding which stories and which moments, help the narrative and help move things along. There's this quote that I love from Mark Twain where he said, "I'm sorry this letter is so long, but I didn't have time to make it shorter." And I think that that's so true, because I think that it's actually like much easier to just blab for a while and tell 100 different stories. It's much harder to take the time and say, okay, what are the one or two stories that are really helpful? So for me, with all the improv and the different experiences we've had, I think it's going to be about thinking of which stories will be the most entertaining and also the most helpful for people in thinking about the principles that I'm sharing as well.
Have you gotten some recognition for your work?
Yeah, so with my work with the Bible Players in Jewish Education, I've won a couple awards, the Young Pioneers Award from this Jewish Education Project in New York City, and I was awarded the Pomegranate Prize from the Covenant Foundation, which is a wonderful nonprofit foundation. And those have really um, allowed me to put the time and resources into writing this book. And I'm signing up soon for some voice lessons too, some vocal lessons, because I like singing, I enjoy singing, but I've never been a great singer and would love to learn some more from experts on that. So yeah, that's been wonderful.
Well, if someone wants to work with you, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. They can email me. My email is just Andrew at artlyworking.com, ARTLY. That's the name of our organization, artlyworking.com. They can email me there. They can also find me on LinkedIn, Andrew Davies, there on LinkedIn, or on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, those things at Artly Working. And yeah, would love to work with folks who could use help with their meetings or their workplace environment, or really anyone who's looking to get more participation from themselves in their community, whether that's a community neighborhood group or in their workplace or in their synagogue or their church, all those different things. Would always love to work with everyone. And yeah.
So, then your book comes out in 2026?
Yeah, it's going to come out early next year is the plan. So this year I'm just kind of working on the outline right now and then writing this summer, and then early 2026 it'll be out.
Oh, wow. And where's it going to be available?
So be available online and should be at stores as well. I'm going to be doing a kind of campaign to promote it and raise some money for it, and we're going to hopefully be doing a book tour. So if this book sounds exciting as well, and you're someone who would want to like host a book tour event, that would be wonderful as well, because I'm looking to to really give these tools to everybody and have everyone feel empowered to participate themselves and get their whole community to participate with them.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much for coming on the show today, man. Really enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kyle. This was wonderful, and so glad to be here.
And I also want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back. Please hit that subscribe button. For my regulars, you guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. Until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless, and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network